How's it going, team? Eddie Gray here. Welcome back to the channel, Resources for the Modern Creative, where we help you become a better producer. And today I'm going to talk about something that not a lot of channels talk about, and that is your loudness range. What is LU in the context of mixing, in the context of mastering? Now, in order to really kind of give you the context here, I want to tell you about the setup. I've got smart limit working. We're going to use the loudness monitoring section to get a little bit more data. I'm also using SPL Hawkeye's meter, which really gives you a nice histogram of the dynamics. In order to really learn this and to be able to work through the issue of dynamics, you're going to need a meter that can read loudness range. Something else I recommend, which does not unfortunately work in real time, Expose 2 is really great for post-production fixes, so we can render the files, and we'll do a little bit of testing in here. All right, so let me tell you how I got to this point, how I started thinking about it. I was reading the manual for the SPL Hawkeye meter, and they started talking about Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit, and I thought, this is fantastic. So let's start from the top here. You can ensure that your mix is hitting the desired dynamic ranges for each section using the dynamic range histogram. Since the histogram records levels for the entire history of the track, it's really easy to visualize each section of the track. So they break down Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm not going to play it here, but you can check it out later. It says here that the song has three main areas of dynamic range: the verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus. The highest reading is around 11.5 decibels PSR, and this occurs just as the verse begins and there's no vocals yet. The main peak hits around 10.5 when the vocals enter the verse. Then after that, we go into 9 decibel PSR. So this is when the track hits the pre-chorus, hello, hello, hello. This mix is a little bit denser, right? Has more parts and is fortified with an extra guitar line. Dynamically speaking, the lowest dynamic level is achieved in the chorus when the track peaks around 5.9 PSR. So this is how they're getting a nice balance, and when the chorus hits, you really are hearing a difference. So yet again, we are met with one of the conundrums in music production: the compromise between overall loudness and dynamics. If your song is just loud, you're going to have no dynamic range, but unfortunately, if you have too much dynamic range, you might miss impact and power, explosion, and all sorts of epicness. So this is a game of equilibrium, and we're all trying to achieve it. So last thing I want to say before we get into the nitty-gritty is that if you want a song to be persistent and intentionally aggressive, you don't necessarily need a high LU or loudness range. It could be at 5 or 4 the whole time, and that could be your intention. What I want to do in this video is just encourage a conversation so we can educate ourselves, and if you do want that impact and you do want that push, I want to show you how to create the contrast necessary in order to get there. All right, so again, I have smart limit. I've already set up the values that I want, the overall loudness, and I also have set my target range for Spotify. And on the right hand side, here is the histogram, and I'm going to go ahead and play this from the very beginning, which is quiet, right up until the first chorus. The dynamics are pretty much the same after that. Let's go ahead and play this, and what we're looking for is the histogram and the loudness range numbers. Here we go.
Take my hand and pull me in so close. I wanna feel your warmth on my skin.
right, so the consensus is clear. The overall range is at 6. I want my target to be, let's say, around 7, 8. Okay, so we're going to set that up there. And how can we increase the value, right? What can I do in order to make this work? Something else that is a really good study is to bounce this, and be careful not to include too much silence in the beginning. I don't think I have any silence here, but I'm going to bounce from the same section that you just heard. And the idea is to send this over to expose. So we'll just call this test 1. Send that over to my desktop. And the goal here is to use expose properties in order to analyze going from the verse into the chorus. And those specific set of tools really help out in that regard. All right, so the consensus is clear. From the intro to the verse to the chorus, the overall loudness range is 6.0. So all of this is across the board reading the way it's supposed to. So what do I need to do in order to build up the overall loudness? Well, we can add frequency, we can add saturation, we can perhaps limit a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and try that right now. I'm going to take this chorus section here, starts at bar 13, and we're going to go ahead and push the limiter just a little bit so that we get some more loudness from this section. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the gain function. All right. And we'll just add 1 decibel to push the signal a little bit harder. So let's bring that down significantly. We'll go 8 point. Yeah, just do that. All right, so let's see what kind of results that yielded. So here we'll call this test 2, adding 1 decibel of gain on limiter. All right, let's bounce that. All right, so I've imported test number 2, pushing the limiter just a little bit more, and look what happened here. Our LU went up by almost 1 decibel. So this is really cool because now you can really hear the difference going into the chorus. Listen to the build and then listen to the impact of the chorus. Remember, test 1 has nothing, test 2 is where it's at.
Don't let go.
Here we go. Now, as a result, it did become less dynamic. So you notice that the dynamic range has also reduced. So that's the compromise that we deal with when we're working with loudness. You want more dynamics, your loudness range will have to be minimal. If you want the song to have a louder presence, you're going to have to reduce the dynamics as a result. So you have to pick your poison here. What else can we do in order to push this song a little bit? Well, one of the things that I really like to do is I like to add some high end to the sides of the song. I'm going to pull up a popular mastering plugin, and the goal is to add a little bit of stereo width using the stereo width knob, and to add a little bit of high end sheen, somewhere around 5-6K, just to bring out the sides a bit. So same thing, pull up automation. And if you just need a visual cue, you can open up the lanes here. It's always kind of nice just to give you a heads up. I'll use the marquee tool. And again, the idea is just to get a little bit more stereo width going. Something else I'm going to do is I'm going to add some 6K to the signal right at the very point of impact. And again, reason being is I just want this to sing a little bit louder. Let's go ahead and do the same thing that we've been doing, just increase this. Why don't we just go up by 3 decibels? Let me just audition this really quick. Okay, so that's a little bit of stereo width, a little bit of high end in 6K. Let's bounce this and let's see what kind of results we get. So that's test 3, adding stereo width and 6K. Hey, look at this. This is awesome. Now we're starting to get a little bit more depth going from section to section. So we started off at a loudness range of 6, got up to just about 7. Now we're at 7.4. So let's listen to those going from the build. Here we go.
Don't let
So you can see what's happening here is we're creating a differentiation from section to section. Super important to do. I'm going to play the first and third version. Check it out. So that is what's missing in your music. The last thing that I recommend is that you add some saturation to the mix. So the placement of this is also very important. You got to be careful kind of how you strategize and how you do this. I think what I'm going to use is Black Salt Audio's Oxygen. This plugin isn't out yet, but the idea is that it's going to add EQ, compression, and saturation to the signal. So I'm going to capitalize on that here. All right, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to set up the saturation at a value of 50 in presence mode using the punch algorithm. Okay, so let's see what happens here. I'm going to click on the oxygen knob, which is currently at a value of 0, and we will do this one more time. Go into the chorus, and here I'm just going to add a little bit. Let's do 30, and let's see what this feels like. Here we go.
on my skin. Don't let you never.
Yeah, so that's going to make a big difference. It sounds a little bit kind of over the top, so I'll bring this down to, let's say, 25. Okay, let's render this. Let's see what it sounds like. So remember, this is now adding saturation to the signal. Thus far, we've added a couple of things. We've added some gain as far as the limiter goes. We added some stereo width, some high-end sheen in the 6K world, and now we're going to do one more thing to add a bit more of that loudness, and that's add saturation. And you can see we've dropped it in, and we went all the way from a loudness range of 6.0, which is a little bit stiff by all standards, and now our loudness range is 8.8. My goal was around 7, 8, 9, so I am totally happy with that. Let's listen to the final verdict here from the build. So not a lot of punch on that first one. The chorus comes, but you don't really feel it. Let's check out the second one, adding 1 dB of gain on the limiter. So that sounds a little bit more impactful. I could kind of hear, all right, starting to get somewhere. This third one, we added stereo width just a bit and 6K. Let's go. So that's a little bit more convincing. And I want to be clear, how much 6K did I actually add? I don't remember. So let's go ahead, go back in here. Just in case this really is going to help somebody, I want them to know that I added 3 decibels. So that may be a little bit aggressive, but anyway, it sounds good and I'm into it. So let's go. And then on this last one, we're just adding some saturation. So let me play number 3 one more time. So that's stereo width and 3 decibels of 6K. And for our last trick, adding saturation. Here we go. Now what I'm going to do is play number 1 and number 4. And I'm also going to provide these files so that if you want to test them yourself, I think that would be great. Here we go. All right, now I would agree with you. That is a little bit heavy-handed, so I would probably go back and reduce the numbers just a bit, just a hair, just to really kind of make sure that I'm hitting what I want. So, this is going to be a trial and error process. You're not going to get this right the first time, but that's not the point. The point is to get better over time. The point is to make progress every single day. And as I've said before, if you want this, you can get it. You just need to get the necessary information so you can take your game to the next level. Let me take one more render here off the top. And thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I do put out a lot of content. That's just because I'm just so passionate about this. And I really have a vision about what I want to do. And so in order to get better, I have to make sure my chops are on the up and up. So thank you so much. Iron sharpens iron. So thank you guys. Final render. Let's go. All right, and we compromised the loudness range just a little bit, and actually we gained some dynamics in the process. So just remember, we started off with the dynamic range being set to 8.2. We ended off at 6.9, but we got a lot more impact going into the chorus. So let me know what you guys think, and how would you do this? Like, what would be your preferred method of research and rendering? I know this is a little bit extensive and meticulous, but this is what we got to do if we want to be the very best that we can be. So thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for following and helping build the channel. I'm going to get out of here. I got a lot more content coming up. I have so many ideas, courses, interviews, all sorts of stuff. So let's keep pushing and let's go hard. Bye.
You